Welcome back to SmartSpeak English. Today we're doing a deep dive into something really practical. It's aimed squarely at anyone wanting to, boost their English skills efficiently. We're looking at a specific approach, a daily routine, and it promises, well, pretty significant improvement in just 5 minutes a day.
That's right. It sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it?
Mm.
But the core idea seems to be that for many learners, the real challenge is just being consistent, finding that time and energy every single day.
Uh-huh.
So this method proposes a really structured, very minimal time commitment, just 5 minutes, designed to overcome that barrier and build a solid habit.
5 minutes, I mean, that claim alone makes it worth looking into because really, who can't find 5 minutes somewhere in their day? So how does this routine actually break down that tiny bit of time?
Well, it's quite granular, actually. It divides the 5 minutes into 5 distinct 1-minute segments. Each one focuses on a different skill. The first minute, and this seems pretty critical, is dedicated to speaking out loud using a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing, okay. Is that basically just mimicking, like repeating what you hear?
Exactly, yeah. Mimicking is a good way to put it. The method involves listening to a short piece of native English audio. Could be anything, really, a podcast clip, maybe a short video bit, just 20 or 30 seconds. And then you immediately try to repeat it simultaneously with the speaker. As they speak, you speak.
Ah, right. Simultaneously.
Yeah. And the goal, especially at first, isn't perfect accuracy. It's more about matching the rhythm, the intonation, the speed of the speaker.
Okay, so it's less about catching every single word right away and more about training your mouth and your ear, getting them to process and produce the sounds and the flow of English quickly.
Precisely. It really emphasizes that physical aspect. It trains your muscle memory for pronunciation. And it builds fluency because it forces you to keep pace without sort of overthinking every little thing. It's a very active way to listen.
Fascinating. Okay, so that's minute 1 flow and pronunciation through shadowing. What about minute 2? What's the focus there?
Minute 2 shifts gears to something called vocabulary flashback. Now, this isn't really about cramming new words. It's about solidifying words you've encountered recently. The recommendation is to quickly review just say 3 to 5 words you've maybe seen or heard in the last day or so.
Right. Using flashcards, maybe an app, or just a simple list.
Yeah, whatever works for you. But just looking isn't quite enough. The key point is active recall.
Active recall. So not just glancing at the word and its definition.
Exactly. You need to immediately try to use each word in a simple sentence. Out loud. So for instance, if you just learned the word ubiquitous, you'd quickly say something like, wow, smartphones are almost ubiquitous these days.
Gotcha. That immediate application, saying it out loud, helps move it from just passive recognition into your active vocabulary. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've got shadowing and vocabulary review. What's minute 3 bring?
The third minute is for a quick grammar drill. Now, again, it's clear this isn't about deep diving into complex grammar rules. It's more about reinforcing structure through repetition.
Grammar in 60 seconds. That sounds a bit challenging.
It is. But the approach is meant to be practical. You just choose one specific grammar point you're working on, maybe practicing question forms or maybe that tricky third person's on verbs, and then you just say 3 to 5 sentences using that structure out loud again.
Okay. So if you were working on, say, past continuous.
Right. You might just quickly say, I was working when the phone rang. What were you doing last night? They were playing outside. Just practicing the pattern.
So it's more about getting comfortable actually saying the patterns rather than just, analyzing them on paper. It's quite a physical, kinesthetic approach overall, it seems.
It really does seem to favor that.
Yeah.
Building that intuitive feel through doing. Okay, so minute 4 is then describe your day.
Okay, this one sounds a bit more freeform.
It is, yeah. But still structured within that 1 minute. The idea is simply to speak out loud about what you did earlier, or maybe what you're doing right now, or what you plan to do later. Like a very short spoken journal entry.
Real-world practice, then, using your own everyday language. So you might say, I just finished reading an interesting article about learning languages.
Exactly like that. Perfect.
Okay.
It forces you to access your everyday vocabulary and sentence structures kind of on the fly, which is crucial. And then finally, minute 5. This rounds it out with ask and answer a question.
Like having a little mini conversation, but just with yourself?
Precisely. You ask yourself a question in English, could be about anything, really, and then you answer it. Out loud, of course. Could be super simple, like, what am I going to have for lunch? And then answer, I think I'll just make a sandwich.
Or maybe something a bit more complex.
Sure, like what was the most interesting thing I learned today, and then you'd actually answer that question for yourself in English.
Right. This covers both asking and answering, which are obviously key conversational skills. Okay, so that's the 5-step breakdown then. Shadowing, vocabulary, grammar, describe your day, and ask and answer. 1 minute each, 5 minutes total. The real emphasis seems to be on the consistency that this brevity allows, right?
That's definitely the main argument. The idea presented is that doing this tiny routine every single day, even when you're tired, even when you're busy, is ultimately far more effective than trying to do longer study sessions maybe only once or twice a week. It keeps English active in your brain daily. It helps turn practice into a habit, something you just do.
Yeah, it sort of reframes practice from maybe this big, daunting task into a tiny, totally manageable part of your day. The potential cumulative effect over time could actually be quite significant.
That's the suggestion. This daily micro-practice builds momentum and, importantly, helps prevent that skill decay that can happen when learning is too sporadic. Consistency is key.
So there you have it, a really structured approach that claims you can get big results from just 5 minutes a day. It really champions consistency over intensity. Small daily efforts making a potentially huge difference over time. And here's something for you to think about as you go about your day. Based on these 5 steps we just discussed, how could you maybe adapt or integrate just 1 or 2 of them into your own daily routine starting tomorrow? What surprising leap might that kind of simple, consistent habit bring for your English progress? Something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on SmartSpeak English. If you found this helpful, please do like, share, and subscribe. We'll catch you next time.